Joined now by Niall Stanage, White House columnist with our partners at The Hill. Niall, thank you for being here.
Good to be here, Natasha.
I want to get your take on what we just heard Joe Khalil discussing previously. We have primarily heard about these objects through congressmen, not the White House or the Pentagon. Does the White House and the Pentagon need to be more transparent with Americans, and why not clue Americans in more?
Yes, I think they do, and I think you're seeing increasingly bipartisan calls for that greater level of transparency. Congressman Jim Himes, for example, a Democrat from Connecticut on the House Intelligence Committee, was just talking earlier today about concerns that he has about this lack of transparency. I think this is really where the critique of the White House has moved to, Natasha. Obviously, with the first spy balloon, there was a difference of opinion as to when it should be shot down. These three most recent objects clearly have been shot down with much greater promptness, and so the criticism has now become more about communication, transparency, whether the American people are being told what they ought to know.
And President Biden has ordered the takedown of these objects over the last 8 days, sometimes waiting, other times in pretty quick order. Politically, has this series been a win for the president?
I think it has become a neutral event at this point. I thought that the first one was actually a win for him because he waited until things were safe. He made the argument that the Chinese balloon was not able to obtain intelligence as it made its way across the continental United States. It's not that I think that any of the actions with the subsequent objects have been bad or lax in and of themselves, but I do think there can be an aggregate effect of all of these incidents, creating fear for a start on the part of the public, but also creating the impression that the administration is reacting to events rather than being in control of events. And that typically is a pattern that is very dangerous for any administration.
Interesting. Let's talk more about that. I mean, could these incidents backfire on him in the way that there does seem to be so many of these objects, and they're so highly visible compared with something like cyber espionage? Does it give Americans the impression that perhaps we are not particularly secure?
Yeah, I think it does add to a general sense of insecurity. Now, as you already have pointed out this evening, Natasha, there's a lot that we don't know about the three objects after the initial spy balloon. So we'll have to see what emerges there. But clearly, when you have objects overhead that are unidentified and are getting shot down by fighter jets, that is not a concept or an experience that makes people feel terribly secure. The first Chinese spy balloon, of course, was visible to the naked eye, again fueling that sense of danger or the idea that we're not fully protected. So I do think there are dangers. On the flip side, we don't want to exaggerate that. I mean, could it end up that these latter three objects are actually quite minor and not consequential? If that happens, then you have completely the opposite argument, that has there been an overreaction here? It's just very difficult when there's so much that is opaque still.
Yeah, Niall Stanage, always appreciate your time. Thank you for the context. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.